This is Full Game Prometheus, the only YouTuber that actually shows you full games of all the tips and schemes I post on my channel. I show you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Alright, so guys, just like you, I have been watching a lot of the Game Changers, the EA Game Changers posts of basically the Madden 2018 gameplay strategies and tips. It must be nice to be an EA game changer. This guy's definitely established it. Madden Daily is one of the more favorite channels that I actually subscribe to. There's a lot of guys that I'm subscribed to that I've been watching your tips for a long time, and Madden Daily has been producing out some of the best stuff. So guys, I want to give you my take on the information I kind of divulged from Madden Daily, imaveriq, and a lot of the other YouTube channels on basically their take on the game. And the first thing I want to say is that I'm very disappointed that the feedback from them and from the rest of the field is that they originally tightened up the zones, and now they basically went ahead and loosened them up. So to hear that they went ahead and loosened up the zones like it were in Madden 17 is kind of disappointing to me, based on the point that, you know, that was the thing that we all wanted. We wanted zones to basically, guys that are competitive players and play competitively and really care, and are not just strictly entertainers, just, they play the game to win and beat people. To have loose zones that don't necessarily play the coverage they're supposed to, is actually kind of frustrating, because that's what they promised and that's what they were trying to address. And to hear that that's the type of situation is somewhat frustrating. So I'm actually kind of frustrated about it. I hope imaveriq actually made a statement that Rex Dickerson from EA basically stated that they understand the settings and they can actually turn and flip them off if they get some feedback from the community. So guys, once you get your game and you start feeling that the game is just not playing the way it's supposed to, my recommendation is to go ahead and provide any kind of feedback that you can, and I'll look into that for you guys just to see if there's any kind of a place that we can give our feedback on how we feel the game plays, because I think that one of the frustrating things is just that basically to go ahead and get the defenses to react and play a little bit differently, to go ahead and try to defend against what your opponent was doing. You had to make a lot of adjustments, and you had to have such quick stick skill and the ability to go ahead and make a lot of manual adjustments, and the knowledge to be able to make manual adjustments, even though you knew what your opponent was doing. So it's important that you guys go ahead and give your feedback. Now, as far as some of the other features in the game, I do like some of the adjustment settings that you can do with the coaching settings. Make it so your corners can either be kind of going after the wide receivers, or they can be going after the ball, or being a little bit more aggressive. That is actually kind of nice to be able to do that right before the play calling. One of the features that we're obviously going to have to play with defensively is going to be a feature which is going to be whether you're going to have a passive aggressive or a passive pass rush. And I guess if it's passive, it's basically going to be a little bit more run orientated. If it's very aggressive, it's just going to go right after the quarterback. So if I got a guy that uses a lot of like play action plays, really passing the ball very strong, then basically you can just set your pass rush on aggressive, and essentially it's going to be trying to jump the snap and get in the backfield a lot better. Now, my first take is that since the zones are really broken, and you really get penalized by setting blitzes, I'm probably picturing what's going to be happening a lot is a lot of people are going to be using basically zero blitzes with man-to-man coverage, and probably doing inside shading to take away any kind of slants. That's if the shade feature actually works. So if it does work, then basically you're going to be seeing a lot of those nickel double A gap mid blitzes, bucko blitzes, and those type of blitzes. So out of the box, one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to try to lab up man coverage, see what kind of routes actually beat it, see how things get affected as far as shading is concerned. I've never really ran a lot of like nickel defenses and all that kind of stuff against heavier sets, such as like a 21 package or 22 packages or anything like that. I always ran a lot of off defenses that really are corresponding to what my opponent's playing. So making that kind of adjustment is not going to be a huge thing, but there's some guys that just they don't understand how to call a defense other than maybe the nickel blitz. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works. Some other different features are going to be kind of interesting, but I'm really upset with basically the way these zones play. They don't play as hard as they can, because if it comes down to a situation where basically it comes down to people just running man coverage, it's really going to make this game terrible. So they need to tighten up the zone coverages, and that's my take on it. Other than that, you know, the game looks pretty much the same. The concepts look the same. I think I'm going to be pretty safe. I think another thing too is they actually stated that you have to kind of be a quarterback that plays in the pocket. You're not going to have a lot of the ability to run around outside of the pocket and make great plays, which was kind of annoying to me. I always hated guys that didn't make reads. They would just go ahead and just run around out behind the line of scrimmage and just wait for the defense to break down and make a play down the field. So for me to see that type of feature happen, or just kind of an adjustment that passing in the pocket, making reads and making decisions, is probably going to help me dramatically, just because that's the format that I prefer to play to begin with, opposed to guys that just run to the sideline and actually try to make a read right there. So as you can see right here, Lights actually gets sacked right there. So guys, what's your take? I want to get your feedback on what you feel about Madden 18 first impressions from the game changers. What do you guys like? What don't you like? You know, do you think it's going to be looking like this game is good, or it's going to be bad? My personal belief is that, you know, they put the competitive mode in place to basically make sure that they don't get rewarded by the computer, the CPU, and for me to see that the zones don't play the way they're supposed to is kind of frustrating. So that's probably my takeaway from the first impressions from all these guys that have been labbing the game at EA. So guys, give me your feedback. Once again, you guys are the best subscribers on YouTube. I really appreciate the support, and I'll be pumping out Madden 18 videos and tips and schemes as soon as I get my hands on the game and I start labbing things in the playbook. So once again, thanks a lot for your support. Until next time.